Marchaza. She's a dedicated member of the Mentor-accepted Village School District Board of Education, having been elected in November of 2023 and beginning her 4-year term. I'm sorry, I'm so thank you. And beginning her 4-year term in January 2024. Lauren is also the director and editor of publications at Case Western Reserve University, where she oversees several of the university's alumni magazines and other external communications. She is a graduate of Mentor Public Schools and a parent of 2 children in the district who is deeply invested in the success of the schools there. As part of her board position, Lauren serves in the role of legislative liaison, where she's responsible for reporting on state and federal education laws to fellow board members and the wider district community. In late February, a video clip of Lauren giving one of these reports found its way onto a far-right social media account known for trafficking in hate and conspiracy theories. In the clip, Lauren reads excerpts of Trump's executive order ending radical indoctrination in K-12 schooling, while pointing out that it is in conflict with existing federal laws that prohibit the federal government from dictating state curriculum. None of this should be controversial, regardless of where you sit on the political spectrum. But Senator Bernie Moreno decided the best way to serve the interests of his constituents was to turn an innocuous moment from a local school board meeting into a self-serving political stunt. And while he may know little about how our government works, understatement, he knew exactly what he was doing when he aligned himself with a far-right propaganda platform and launched a baseless PR campaign against a local school board member who was simply doing her job. Tonight, Lauren will be speaking to us in a personal capacity and not on behalf of the Mentor Board of Education. And with that, please give a warm welcome to Lauren Marchaza.
And a previous Mentor Cardinal, once a card, always a card.
And
I am going to say thank you from a mother who was a secretary at Bellflower for 34 years, public education. I am now a special education teacher at Broadmoor, and I want to tell you, you rocked it. Shame on all those people.
And I'm going to take a second, because I'm a resident of Mentor, Ohio, too. 2 of my children graduated from that school. And when Lauren joined our school board, she, just like you said, she rocks. She holds a meeting, and she holds us accountable. She's awesome.
Thank you.
After speaking, I can't even imagine what you all have gone through. And it's so strange for me to be up here speaking after very brave women and men. And so thank you for sharing those experiences. I can tell you a little bit about what Senator Moreno has been up to, since clearly he's not listening to his constituents. So yes, I serve on a school board, and if you're from Mentor, you say Mentor, not Mentor. And we're about an hour away on the lake shore, and I grew up there, and now I'm raising my children there. So I'm in my 2nd year, also in my 2nd year of serving as the legislative liaison, which as described is my job to liaise with our legislators, but also to report to the board and community about laws that are going to be impacting our local public schools. So I give a monthly report, and I did this in February at our regular meeting on the 11th, and they had just, the president had just issued his executive orders late January, early February, and we've been getting questions, understandably, from folks, our constituents, and they're desperate to know, what does this mean? What is this going to do to our schools? What does this mean for my children? And so I brought those up during my report, and I said, there's some things that we need to understand. Everybody just kind of hit the brakes, let's take a beat and think about what all these might mean, at least for right now. And so what I did was I kind of went through the executive orders, and I mentioned that, hey, don't forget, there are these directives and these orders that say, yes, that, we have to do this, this, and this to, I actually have it, I think it's to end, I think it was gender ideology, and critical race theory in K through 12 curriculum. That was one of the directives. And I said, well, it's important to remember, though, that that the states already control, curriculum, right? So I hear a lot about, transferring power back to the states when it comes to education. So I clarified for our audience that, that's already the case. Ohio and every other state has a state curriculum. We in Mentor follow that state curriculum. That's been the case for a very long time. And then the second thing I pointed out was that there are federal laws in place that actually dictate that the federal government cannot interfere with state. The first one that came to mind was the Every Student Succeeds Act. I think it was from 2015, so fairly recent. But it said that local control is what's really important, and that should reign supreme, right? So federal law should not, federal mandates cannot interfere with state curricula. So I pointed that out as well. And then finally, what I also said was, and you notice in these executive orders, there are a lot of these phrases like as applicable by law, or as authorized or permissible by law. That's sort of an acknowledgement to say, yeah, we understand there are these federal laws in place. So it was really me sort of explaining, what these executive orders are, but also that there are a lot of factors at play here, and we have to remember that. And so that's what I do in my reports, is try to break it all down for folks to help them understand, and basically just wait and watch and see what happens. So that's what I did. So crickets after that. Nobody said anything on the board, no questions, no comments, we moved on. And then 4 days later, my board president, her name's Maggie Cook, and she's also terrific, received a letter from Senator Moreno. In it, I actually have some excerpts. In it, he pointed out my report, and he asked the board to take a position on what I was saying in my report. He said that I had been attempting, this is a quote, attempting to engage in the unauthorized practice of law. And that I was announcing that Mentor Public Schools would be refusing to follow the law. He asked for an official position of the board on whether we were going to enforce executive orders, including the ending indoctrination in K-12 schooling order, and if we plan to follow the law. And he asked, quote, why did a non-attorney board member provide legal analysis on and commentary of the president's executive orders? So I know he's new on the job. But if he had ever attended a school board meeting, you would know that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to. At any rate, so we had to respond. He said in 5 days. We had 5 days to respond, and then he closed his letter by asking, quote, are you aware that Lake County receives over $1 billion in state and federal funding? Sincerely, Senator Moreno. We had 5 days. So my board president got together with our attorney, as you do, and said, we have to craft this response to make sure he understands that we are going to follow the law. We always follow the law. We have always, we always will. That's our duty. As a school board member, we take an oath, and we swear to uphold the Constitution of the United States and of the state, right? So we're going to follow the law. And also, that executive order he referenced doesn't have any directives for us to follow right now. So if he had been familiar with that executive order as well, he would have known that it's the agencies that have to act. They have to act by, I think it's the end of April, to come up with some plan about how to rid our schools of radical indoctrination. So we create this response, President Cook does, and she sends it back to him, and that's the last we heard from him. But in the meantime, damage was being done. So as my introducer, Ken, thank you, sorry, we just met tonight. As Ken mentioned, my face ended up all over the TikTok account, the Lives of TikTok account. If anyone's familiar with that, don't go there, it's not a good place. I think somebody referred to me as the calendar girl of Lives of TikTok that month. It wasn't the first time, unfortunately. And then in come the threats, and in come, people telling me that I should be imprisoned, sending me messages to my personal Facebook account. Our school district, parents, I'm a parent in our school district. I have 2 kids who attend. a lot of us were wondering, what is this going to mean for us? I mean, lots of anxiety, lots of uncertainty during an already very uncertain time for public schools. So the impact was quite huge. And, I already feel pretty unsafe because of a lot, if anyone's familiar with Mentor Public Schools, we've been in the media recently in the last several years because things get pretty dramatic over there. So this certainly didn't help things. So this eventually somehow got, I guess you could say, picked up by Breitbart, which is another right-wing news outlet. And Senator Moreno took it upon himself to post that on his social media page. It's still there. It's got about 400 to 500 comments on it that if you are seeking to be entertained, I highly recommend checking it out. But he said, I promise to ensure that the executive orders are enforced across the land. So that's what he's been up to instead of having town halls, if you were curious. I'll also add that, in addition to the uncertainty, the anxiety that this has caused, the actual tangible costs of conflict like this, of course, is that we have to pay our lawyer, right? And that's taxpayer money. So we have to pay our lawyer to help us craft this letter, to create a response within 5 days, and we had to do that over a weekend, mind you. So, the fact that I'm feeling unsafe, my family's feeling unsafe, there's a lot of parents are unsure, that's a lot from just this little letter that he didn't have to bother to do. So, it makes me wonder why single out a suburban school district, a school board member, one of his constituents. So I guess if you were here tonight, I would ask him, and I wrote this down, why single us out and disrupt an entire school district in your own state you're supposed to represent, demanding a response from us when you yourself won't respond to your own constituents when they demand accountability? 5 days to respond.